Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about the pace of change and why that matters for your Dungeons and Dragons game. And we're specifically going to look at a mistake that Professor Dungeon Master over on Dungeon Craft made, and how he just learned a lesson the hard way that I learned a long time ago, but it impacts your Dungeon Master, your table, as if you're a Dungeons and Dragons player or if you're a Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Master. Okay, so first of all, the world is kind of divided. Let's say it nicer, right? So I used to talk about scrub DMs. I'm gonna try to just I get it, right? I get that. I think if you understand sports, you get excited. If you're excited about something, you want to say this is the right path, this is the wrong path, and you get frustrated with people who are on the wrong path, right? So let's talk about it this way, right? So gold tier dungeon masters, gold dungeon masters, silver dungeon masters, copper dungeon masters, right? Copper dungeon masters are those people who are out there just out there like, hey, this game's about cutting goblins in half. I hope we have fun this week. You just like the most low tier. Whatever happens at this table doesn't really matter. I don't care if there's 4 people here. We're going to run for 4 hours because I don't run 2-hour games because I'm a copper tier DM. And so I don't really care if I waste 16 hours of people's time, right? Like, it's just like, it's a thing, right? So silver tier is like, hey, I realize maybe the game is a little more than just cutting goblins in half. And maybe I owe these people something for giving me 16 hours of their time, right? Like, and then gold tier is like, oh, Dungeons and Dragons ain't no game. I like Gary Gygax put Dungeon Master in the 1980 Saturday morning cartoon saying, "Greetings, pupils," to the adventurers, because that was a clue to me that I need to teach these people something, and they need to walk away with their lives fundamentally better than when they sat down. Okay, so Professor Dungeon Master over on Dungeon Craft did this video, and he said, oh, it's always been just Dungeons and Dragons to me, right? And he said, hey, they just announced that all Dungeons and Dragons, that editions are dead, and that it's all Dungeons and Dragons now, right? And he says on this video, which I've linked below, he says, oh, hey, I had this idea a month ago, and I shot the video, and then I put it on a shelf, right? Now, first of all, he cut a video, they did editing on that video, and all that time was wasted, right? And I'll tell you right now, I learned a long time ago, there's no shelf, right? If you cut a video and you put it on a shelf, right, and you're waiting for the right time, that thing is going to be stale in a day, right? So you cut video nowadays, the world changes, Dungeons and Dragons changes so fast that you have to put it up as quickly as possible. There's no shelf, right? So I do stage videos to release at specific times, right? But never, nowadays, I used to do it like I would schedule a month, right? And they just boop, 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 drop in, and release the day I said I wanted to release. That's done. Sometimes I'll go as long as 48 hours, but generally, my scheduling is within 24 hours of when I made that video, because things happen so fast, right? And what you as a dungeon master need to realize is, first of all, you better stop that noise of writing a bunch of ideas in a notebook, like, oh, here's a 6-month campaign planned out, right? Like that is finished, right? Because the reality is, people want their Dungeons and Dragons games to reflect IRL, and it's a fantasy world, but the politics, the culture, and the religion need to impact and reflect what's happening in our world today, or else your game is just stale copper tier junk. Okay? And you want it to be gold tier content that people are like, I'm with the best DM in the city, right? Like, I got the city's blessing because I'm with the best DM in the city, and this is important, and and I know that my dungeon master is keeping it fresh, right? It's just not serving up 6-month-old pablum, or even 6-week-old pablum, right? If you're dungeon mastering, you need to be creating fresh, new content that reflects the IRL in real life. And I really feel bad for. I was shocked to hear Professor Dungeon Master. He's got a better channel than me. Let's make no mistake. Okay, he is fantastic. I listen to every video he does. He is brilliant, right? And he's a better D&D commentator than I am. But I learned this lesson a year and a half ago, right? There's no shelf, right? And so I can't believe he's still making the mistake of making videos and thinking the world's going to be unchanged 6 months later, or 6 weeks later, right? And the reality is, I feel bad for him because he could have claimed his glory. He could have looked like a prescient prophet, but now he just looks like a whining fool, right? Like he's like, oh yeah, I had the idea like a month before they said it. I did really believe me. And I actually do believe him, but he looks like a schmuck he looks like a schmuck not releasing the video when he did the video, right? Like, so this is the issue is keep your content fresh, right? Don't be a Professor Dungeon Master where you think the world ain't changing in 6 weeks. That's ridiculous, right? That's my humble opinion. How do you make sure that what you put in your notebook each week is fresh, relevant, political, cultural, religious commentary on IRL through the D&D game, so that your players know you care about them and are not just serving them yesterday's donuts, right? I'd love to hear. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.